Right, so guys, I thought today I'd talk about some of the players that in the Premier League I consider to be unsung heroes. Ones that never really get their flowers in the mainstream media. Maybe opposition fans don't really fear them when they kind of look at the team sheet on the weekend. Maybe their own fans don't really understand the true value that they bring towards their team. But that's why I call them unsung heroes. So today, I'm going to be looking at 5 players that I think are about to have massive standout years that more people are going to start noticing them, more people are going to start rating them, and I think towards the end of the year, we might even be saying, do they need to transfer away? And of course, it's that time of the year again when EA Sports FC 25 is available to pre-order right now. So get on that if you haven't already. And yes, they've also announced their Premier League and BWSL ratings. So I thought I'd look at a few of them and again, give the ones that I actually think they might have underrated a bit in a year's time. Watch out. So the first player I want to speak about is Liverpool's very own Dutch midfielder, Ryan Gravenbloom. Now, FC 25 have given him an item with a rating of 78. And to be honest with you, it's not that surprising. He had a tough debut season at Anfield last year, never really got his feet going under Jurgen Klopp. And to be honest with you, it was following up a couple of disappointing seasons at Bayern Munich as well too. Now, we all know the massive potential that he showed at Ajax when he was a youngster. And you look at the guy, right? Very tall, very athletic, but also extremely technical on the ball. So maybe all he really needed was a manager to kind of wrap an arm around his shoulder, get him in the right environment, and get him playing his best football. And in Arne Slot, within 3 games, we already see Ryan Gravenberch as a massive part to whatever Liverpool are doing well this season so far. You look at the summer, Arne Slot massively wanted defensive midfielder. The guy he targeted was Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, but when that broke down, people were starting to look at Liverpool and saying, where's the plan B? Well, it appears that the plan B was at home the entire time. Gravenberch has been deployed as the deepest lying midfielder in Arne Slot's team, and within the first 3 games has been a revelation. He was so good against Ipswich, even better against Brentford, and the pick of the lot was against Manchester United at Old Trafford. What bigger stage to do it? Absolutely ran the show. Impossible to knock off, creating chances, taking shots, just an all-around brilliant midfield performance from Ryan Gravenberch. And I have to be honest with you, I expect to see much, much more this season. Just look at him at the international break against Germany, where you saw the full range of passing that he has at his disposal, being able to drive the ball from deep and even win it back. So, if the first 3 games are anything to go by, I think Gravenberch is poised to have a massive year. So don't get thrown off by the 78 rating. The best is yet to come. Now, I think the next player I want to speak about is Mohamed Kudus of West Ham. The Ghanaian international has been given an 82 rating on his item this year by FC 25. And look, I don't think it's the worst rating ever, right? He had a very promising first season with the Hammers, obviously making that move from Ajax. But I actually think, just like Gravenberch, the best is yet to come. Just as good as he was the first season, I think the first 3 games, you've seen an evolution in his game. You've seen him possibly be even better. And when I look at the skill set that Kudus has on him, extremely fast, extremely direct, such a gifted dribbler, has an eye for goal. I'm sorry, this might be a little extravagant, but I think Kudus is potentially an 80 to 90 million pound player on this market. I look at the top teams, not just in England, but around Europe, looking for an outstanding option out wide. I think Kudus is almost as good as it comes. The guy has absolutely everything. And don't get thrown off by the fact that he's playing for West Ham. He's not playing for a European giant. This kid has bundles of ability, bundles of pace. And if I'm an opposition defender, I am shaking in my boots if I see Mohamed Kudus on the other side. 82 rating is okay. It's a good rating. Look, if you get him in your starter team, you're flying. But genuinely, I think in a year's time, not only do I expect this rating to be higher, I'd expect him to be playing for a different team as well. Now, do you guys remember when Anthony Gordon was at Everton being linked to a massive move to Chelsea and the entire Premier League was laughing their heads off? I gotta say now, I don't think they're laughing anymore. Since then, he's made a big move to Newcastle, which originally people looked at a little surprised. But wow, 11 goals, 10 assists for the Magpies in the Premier League. He's just as well appeared for England over the international break under new manager Lee Carsley, and I think he absolutely looked terrifying running at defenders. And that's just exactly what Anthony Gordon gives you. He has electrifying pace. And that, for me, is even an understatement. He loves running at defenders. He loves giving them hell. He loves scoring goals. He loves setting up teammates. And look, every year at Newcastle, he's gotten even better. And I expect this year to be no different. You can clearly tell that Anthony Gordon is like a sponge. Every single year, it's like he's downloading new information. He's learning new parts to his game. He's becoming even more efficient. He's becoming even deadlier in front of goal with his decision making. He was really linked to a big move to Liverpool, obviously going back to Merseyside, but that didn't fall through. Another big year at Newcastle, though, and I think it's going to be extremely difficult for them to keep a hold on him. I think he's that good. I think he's potentially the future for England as well, too, on that left-hand side, and I think the sky is the limit for Anthony Gordon. 82 rating, again, not bad whatsoever. And again, when you look at those dribbling stats, that pace, an incredible item to have in your starter team, just like Kudus. But seriously, this time next year, we could be looking at Anthony Gordon with a monster rating on his item. I want you guys to cast your minds back to a few seasons ago where Ivan Toney was the talk of the town. This guy was leading Brentford to massive results against teams like Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal. He was the man for the bees. But you look at what's kind of transpired since then. Obviously, that massive suspension that ruled him out for almost half a season. Many people feared that Brentford would be going straight down without Ivan Toney's goals. But who stepped up in their place? Two players. Yohan Wissa, who scored 12 goals and 3 assists that campaign, along with Bryan Mbeumo, who in 25 matches scored 9 goals and 6 assists. But perhaps more damning than any statistic I can give you, in the 13 games that Bryan Mbeumo missed through an ankle injury last year, Brentford lost 11 of them. In the 10 that followed when he returned, they only lost 3. He is vitally important for Brentford. And now that Ivan Toney is out the door, the impetus to replace his goals are even stronger than ever between Bryan Mbeumo and Yohan Wissa. But here's a hot take for you guys. I actually think that they can perfectly survive without Toney. Not to say that he's not a great player, but in Mbeumo, he possibly gives you a bit more of a different advantage. Now, with Ivan Toney, Brentford had to play with a target guy, a guy who could hold up the ball extremely well, extremely dangerous in the air, which caused Brentford to be a lot more direct. But people may forget that before Ivan Toney, the center forward for Brentford was Ollie Watkins, who was obviously, as we know, with Aston Villa in England, much more direct, much more adept at running the channels. They allowed Brentford to be more of a transition team. And with Wissa and Mbeumo leading the line now for Brentford in Ivan Toney's absence, that maybe allows Thomas Frank to kind of return to that style of play that made Brentford such a dangerous proposition in the championship the first go around. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom now that Ivan Toney is not here. And a big part of that is because of Bryan Mbeumo. Direct, fast, good at dribbling, good at holding up the ball, a massive goal threat, good at getting players involved. And again, another player that I think next season, his rating will skyrocket. 80 rating is cool. No complaints here. But again, in 12 months' time, don't forget who told you first that Bryan Mbeumo is poised to have a massive season yet again for Brentford. And finally, FC 25 have given the most expensive signing of the summer, Dominic Solanki, an 81 rated item. Coming off a massive season for AFC Bournemouth, scoring 19 Premier League goals en route to Bournemouth, finishing comfortably in mid-table. Obviously, the big clubs were swarming all over the signature of Solanki. And of course, it was Tottenham who were the luckiest. Now, when you look at Spurs last season, and in particular the early parts of the season, had them playing some exhilarating football. They were everybody's darlings of the Premier League. They were popping teams off the park. Defensively, there were issues, but going forward, they were absolutely brilliant. However, as the season kind of went on and James Maddison picked up a big injury and maybe the goals started drying up for Heung-min Son, the defensive mishaps continued, but the goals on the other end weren't there to kind of save Spurs. So the solution that Ange has found in the window is bringing in Dominic Solanki, who certainly knows where the goal is. But don't get it twisted. Solanki is not just all goals. His target play, his hold-up play, his ability again to run the channels and get other players involved, a very good playmaker at the striker position, I think will slot in perfectly to what Spurs are looking to do. Because obviously you can tell very quickly with Spurs' team that it's not just enough to be a poacher, to just sit up front and put goals into the back of the net. You have to be able to exist in this Ange attack. And I think with Dominic Solanki, he's found the perfect guy to kind of take up that role. Now, 81 rating. Do I get it? I do. He's coming off his first breakout year. 19 goals was impressive, but it's all he kind of has to show on his resume at the moment. However, again, 12 months time, if Solanki is everything that we think he is, if he's able to fire Spurs into the top 4, which has to be the big goal for Spurs and Ange this year, get themselves back into the Champions League, I'm sorry, this 81 rating is going to look childish. I think he's going to be up towards an 83, 84. I think he has all the ability to kind of deliver on these promises I'm making on his behalf. Sorry, Dom, but I think he will. And I think, again, 12 months' time, Dominic Solanki will be the name on everybody's lists when we talk about strikers, bar Erling Haaland. But look, he's on a different planet. Who's up next? Look at what Ollie Watkins was able to do last year. Why can't Dominic Solanki do similar? So there you have it. Those are my 5 unsung heroes, the ones to watch this year in the Premier League that I believe are going to take the league by storm. In a year's time, FC 25 ratings, I think their items are going to be a lot better on the eye. Now, as I said, FC 25 is available to pre-order right now. Make sure you guys do it. I definitely am going to be banging out Ultimate Team. I can't wait for that. And I hope I see you guys there as well too. See you next time. Peace.